one thing I do know is you will not see the sort of scrutiny brought to bear on Biden and his family and his White House that you saw brought to bear on Trump and his family and his White House.
We turn to those tasks of our time, sustained by faith, driven by conviction, and devoted to one another and the country we love with all our hearts. May God bless America, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, America.
Ezra Levant here in Toronto at the world headquarters of Rebel News. You've been watching a speech read by Joe Biden, the new president of the United States. A little bit of celebrity sizzle. That's the Democrats for you, the party of the entertainment elites and the media. Today is the best day, in 4 years for the Democrats' base, and by that I mean the media. The kind of stories we've seen over the last few weeks, Kamala Harris's shoes, the new dog at the White House. What are they cooking? Did you know that Joe Biden and his wife haggle every day to see who gets to go on the Peloton? I mean, the stories that have been presented as news stories by the same press corps that was a pack of jackals with Donald Trump. This is not a honeymoon with Joe Biden. It is a permanent state of affairs. You'll find that for the next 4 years, there is no homelessness in America. There is all the problems that were laid at the feet of Donald Trump. In fact, Donald Trump resolved so many of them, especially with his economic growth. You will find that there's nothing to quarrel with. I fear that the instruments of democracy, the checks and balances, have been put in the freezer for 4 years. I didn't mind the speech. I didn't think it was particularly eloquent. But most importantly, I know that Joe Biden didn't write a word of it. I doubt he can remember a word of it. When Joe Biden participated in the presidential debates, I felt that he was sharper than he is normally. I mean, we've seen videos of him losing his train of thought, mispronouncing words, forgetting where he is, forgetting people. That weird one where he bit his wife's finger very strangely. I think they give him some shots, I don't know, adrenaline, caffeine, vitamin B, whatever. He's up for half an hour and then he practically collapses. I think he's 78 years old and he's in visible decline. I think it's extremely unlikely he will make it to term in his presidency. It wouldn't surprise me if they keep him around almost in a Weekend at Bernie's type way, even if he is non-compos mentis, because having him as a goofy, grandfatherly figurehead is much more useful than having Kamala Harris as the mainstream face of the presidency. Of course, Kamala Harris excites the extremist base of the Democratic Party. As you could see today, you know, she's the first black vice president and the first Indian vice president and the first, so she's all about the intersectional wokeness. The funny thing is that when she was an attorney, when she was a prosecuting attorney in California, she was vicious towards the black community. She would literally prosecute parents whose kids were truant. When your kids don't go to school, when you're a single mom, when there's gang problems, when you're trying to get your kids to go to school, being prosecuted by Kamala Harris, that's not a solution. And I dare say that's not someone who gives a damn about the black community in real life. But as a symbol of grievance politics, she's perfect. But only for certain sectors. I think if you had Kamala Harris and her screeching laugh and her extreme inauthenticity as the main face of the Democrats, they would do quite poorly. Keep Joe Biden around with that rictus grin, face tightened by plastic surgery. Have him read meaningless cliches that, I mean, seriously, 90% of that speech is already forgotten. The rest is not true. When he says he'll stand for the Constitution, he most certainly won't, because the Constitution includes the Bill of Rights, which would include the First Amendment for free speech. He has repeatedly says he wants to crack down on that. The Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. He's repeatedly said he wants to crack down on that. Even the inauguration itself, with 25,000 American troops in Washington, D.C., with a police state, with those troops being politically vetted before they're deployed, is the most shocking authoritarianism that's contrary to the spirit of the American Constitution. The endless talk about dealing with Americans as racial or gender or religious atoms, blobs, that you actually don't have an individuality, but rather you're just put into a racial or gender category. That's very un-American. He talked about an era of peace, but in fact, it was Donald Trump who did not start a single war in his 4 years as president. I can't recall the last president who could say that. Obama was not only king of the drone strikes, but he invaded or toppled half a dozen countries, including most disastrously, Libya. I'm pretty sure that was on Obama's watch. I'd have to look up the year on that. I think that was, 2013. Before that, George W. Bush famously attacking half the Arab world. Before that, Bill Clinton, battles everywhere. Before that, George W. Bush, Ronald Reagan. Now, with Reagan, he was in a Cold War. He was in an existential grapple with the Soviets. But what's the excuse of everyone from Clinton on? Donald Trump did not start any wars. He brought home troops, sometimes against the heavy resistance of the deep state, especially the generals. The generals don't like a guy who doesn't start wars. And miraculously, it was Donald Trump who arranged the peace between Israel and half a dozen Arab countries. It was Donald Trump who they said would start a war with Iran. Not at all. He just stopped funding them. Donald Trump didn't start a war with North Korea. He put them in the fridge. Now, he didn't get them to totally come over to the West, but he certainly put them on ice, didn't he? How long do you think it'll be before Joe Biden declares war on someone, something, somewhere? Do you think it'll be months? Do you think it'll be weeks? I'm not going to pay too much attention to that speech because I don't really think it's relevant what an aging, forgetful, early stage Alzheimer's patient reads put in front of him or a teleprompter for his few moments of clarity a day. I don't really care what some speechwriter puts in front of him because I don't think he remembers it or even means it. I don't know who the power sources are yet in the government, who the hand behind the throne is. Is it the chief of staff? It's a powerful position. Is it an elected official? Is it Kamala Harris? What's the role of the squad? Are they just for show? Are there consultants or lobbyists? Are there economic interests? I don't know. Are there foreign interests? I don't know. One thing I do know is you will not see the sort of scrutiny brought to bear on Biden and his family and his White House that you saw brought to bear on Trump and his family and his White House.
Oh, hi friends. What you just saw there is a clip from our Rebel News daily live stream show. It's fun, it's fast, and it's completely unscripted, so you never really know what you're going to get. Just go to rebelnews.com/livestream to sign up for special alerts